She was humiliated, called useless, but what the company owner did next shocked everyone. Watch until the end. The last minute will leave you speechless. It was dawn, almost 5 in the morning. The sky was still dark, as if the day was afraid to begin. On the outskirts of São Paulo, in a small 2-room apartment, a woman woke up in silence. Not because of the alarm clock, but because of her weight, the weight of responsibility, the weight of loneliness, the weight of being everything to someone. Her name was Lucia. 32 years old, single mother, day laborer, survivor. She got up slowly, careful not to make any noise. On the mattress next to her, wrapped in a worn blanket, slept her son, Enzo, 3 years old. Brown eyes that seemed to see souls, curly hair like hers, and a smile that brightened even the grayest days. Lucia knelt beside the bed. She ran her hand through the boy's hair. He moved, murmured something. "Mommy?" "Shh, sleep, my love. Mommy will be back soon. Dream about the little angels, okay?" She got up and went to the kitchen. Warm water on the stove, a stale loaf of bread, some cream cheese, coffee filtered through a cloth filter, already used twice. She couldn't waste anything. Every penny was a battle. The rent was late. The electricity bill was cut twice a year. Enzo's daycare uniform had a hole in the knee, but he never complained. She, even less. Lucia dressed in her cleaning uniform, black pants, gray blouse, worn sneakers. She put the products in an old nylon bag, bleach, detergent, holy gloves. She left the apartment. She locked the door with 3 turns of the key. She went downstairs. The elevator hadn't worked for months. She walked to the bus stop. The cold wind bit her face. She pulled her old coat up to her chin. São Paulo was waking up slowly. Streetlights flashing, delivery trucks, street vendors setting up stalls. And Lucia, invisible, another housekeeper, another forgotten woman, another one who cleaned the world without being seen by it. The bus arrived packed. She got on, held onto the handrail. No one looked. No one gave up their seat. She wasn't expecting it, but what nobody knew was that on that day everything would change, because Lucia didn't know that that would be the day that destiny would knock on her door. And that behind her son's smile there was a secret that not even she knew. The journey took almost 2 hours. Heavy traffic, the bus stuck on the highway. Lucia looked out the window, seeing nothing. Her mind was at home, with Enzo. Did he wake up crying? Did he eat the snack she left? Was the teacher kind to him today? She clutched the bag of produce to her chest as if it were a shield. It was all she had. It was with this that she paid for her son's future. Finally, she got off at Avenida Paulista. She walked up the wide sidewalk, passing glass buildings that reflected the gray sky. A world of luxury. A world that was not hers, but she went into it every day. To clean it, to keep it shiny. While hers slowly rotted away, Vortex Global Building rose like a crystal tower. 20 stories. Electronic security. A doorman in an impeccable uniform. Lucia passed through the turnstile with her temporary badge. The doorman didn't even glance. She was part of the scenery. Invisible. He took the elevator to the 18th floor. The executive floor. Soft carpet, indirect light, expensive paintings on the walls, ornamental plants, and a heavy silence, as if the air too were afraid to breathe loudly. She started down the hallway, cloth in hand, cleaning spray, wiping down tables, computer screens, switches, everything carefully, everything in silence, until she entered the manager's office, Dr. Roberta Mendes, hair tied up arrogantly, gray blazer, high heels that hit the floor like a hammer. On the side table, a Chinese porcelain vase, antique, expensive, fragile. Lucia approached. She wiped the cloth. She got the angle wrong. The vase shook and it fell. The sound was dry, cold, definite, shards on the floor. Absolute silence, and then the door opened. What was that? Roberta came in like a hurricane. She looked at the floor, at Lucia. At the floor again? Did you break the boardroom vase? That vase is worth more than you'll earn in 10 years. Lucia stepped back. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. By accident, you're paid to be careful. You're paid to not be a walking disaster. The words cut her to the quick. But Lucia didn't cry. She couldn't. If she lost this job, she wouldn't be able to pay for Enzo's medicine. He had asthma, and the inhaler was expensive. Please, I can pay little by little. You don't have a penny, you useless thing. Get out of here, now! Lucia lowered her head. She began to gather the pieces with her hands. Roberta shouted, "Don't even touch that! Call security!" It was at that moment that a door at the back opened. Silence. Everyone turned. A tall man, dark suit, well-cut gray hair, cold eyes, but who, upon seeing Lucia on the floor, with eyes full of shame, stopped and he looked, really, not for the vase, but for her. And in that look, something moved, something no one expected. The man walked slowly to the center of the room. No one spoke. Not Roberta. Not the security guards who had just arrived. He knelt. Not on the shards, but beside Lucia. "Are you hurt?" The voice was deep, calm, but filled with something rare. Respect. Lucia looked up in surprise. No. Do you have cuts on your hands?" She looked down at her torn gloves. A trickle of blood was running down her index finger. "Just a scratch." He took a handkerchief from his pocket and handed it to her. "Hold this." Then he stood up. He looked at Roberta. "Who's in charge here?" "I'm the department manager, Mr. Varela, and this employee broke an item of historical value to the company. We need to take action. Measures? How to fire her? Make her lose her son's support?" Roberta swallowed hard. "Do you know about that?" "I know she has a 3-year-old. I know she works 3 shifts. I know she's never missed a day. I know that for the last 6 months she's cleaned this floor without complaint, even when you treated her like dirt." The silence that followed was thick. Roberta turned pale. "Mr. Varela, I was just protecting the company's assets." "The company doesn't need people like you to protect its values. It needs humanity." He turned to Lucia. "Please stand up." She obeyed, still trembling. I'm sorry about the vase. I can pay." "You won't pay anything. Mistakes happen. What can't happen is a lack of compassion." He turned to the security guards. "You can go back to your post. And you, Roberta, come to my office in 10 minutes. We're going to talk about realigning values." She left without saying anything. Fear in her eyes. The man, the owner of Vortex Global, looked back at Lucia. "My name is Daniel Varela, and you're Lucia, aren't you?" "Yes, sir." "Don't call me sir. Call me Daniel." She hesitated. "Daniel, come with me." She followed him, confused, to a private elevator. They went up. The panel had only 2 buttons, 18 and 20. The CEO's floor. The door opened onto a huge office. Glass from one side to the other. A view of all of São Paulo. A dark wooden desk. And on it, a single black and white photo. Lucia almost didn't see it. But something caught her attention. The photo showed a young couple. The woman was pregnant. The man was smiling next to her. She stopped. The man in the photo was Daniel. But the woman, no. Impossible. It was identical to her. Same face. Same smile. Same eyes. "Did you see something?" Lucia was startled. The woman in the photo. Daniel looked at the frame. "My wife, Clara. She died 4 years ago. Cancer." Lucia felt a chill down her spine. She's just like me. "I know. When you first came in here, I thought you were a ghost." He walked to a drawer. He opened it and took out a yellowed envelope. Clara had a twin sister. I never met her. She was given up for adoption soon after birth. The family wanted to hide the pregnancy. 2 twin daughters. It was too much for the time. Lucia felt the ground disappear. "Are you saying that?" "I'm saying I think you're Clara's twin sister. Separated at birth. Raised in another family. Without knowing you existed." Lucia sat up, dizzy. "How did you find out?" 2 years ago, I hired a detective. I wanted to know what happened to Clara's sister. I only found clues now. And when you came in here, it was like time had gone back." He took a deep breath. "But there's something else. Something that doesn't make sense. And that has haunted me since the day I saw your son." "Enzo?" "Yes, you brought him here once, remember? 2 months ago. You were sick, and you had no one to leave him with," Lucia remembered. "Yes. He was playing around at the reception. That's when I saw it." He picked up a notepad from the table and began to draw. A face, female, smiling, with a pearl necklace. Lucia's eyes widened. Clara's necklace. Exactly. You never showed him pictures of Clara, neither did I, but he drew them, in detail. Even the way she tied her hair. Silence. "And that wasn't all," Daniel continued. "That day he said something. To the void. He said, 'Aunt Clara, are you back?'" Lucia felt a chill. He never said that to me. But I said it. And I recorded it." Daniel picked up his cell phone. An audio message played, Enzo's voice clear and sweet. "Aunt Clara, are you back?" Lucia began to tremble. "That's not possible." I thought it was a coincidence. But he repeats it. At home, at daycare. He says he dreams of a woman in white, who sings him to sleep. "Who protects him when he's afraid of the dark?" Lucia whispered. "It's true. He wakes up sometimes and says, 'Auntie left again.'" Daniel looked deep into her eyes. "Lucia, do you think it's just a coincidence? 2 separated sisters, a son who sees the aunt he's never met, a drawing that shouldn't exist?" She didn't answer, but something inside her knew. Clara hadn't left. She was present. In Enzo. In what the eyes do not see, but the heart feels. That night, Lucia couldn't sleep, sat on Enzo's bed. He was asleep, clutching his teddy bear. His breathing was calm. His curly hair was wet with sweat. She ran her hand over his face. "My love, who did you see?" He stirred. He murmured, "Aunt Clara." Brought light? Lucia stepped back. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a coincidence. It was real. The next day he went to daycare to pick up Enzo early. He drew again, the teacher said. She handed him a sheet of paper. It was a room, detailed, bed with a blue bedspread, window with a lace curtain, a painting on the wall, a mountain landscape, and next to the bed, a woman in a white dress, smiling. Lucia felt the floor disappear. Where did he see this room? I don't know. He said it's his aunt's room. That she sleeps there every night, Lucia knew that room. Because it was Clara's room, in the apartment where she died. A place Enzo had never set foot in. He ran to the subway and went straight to the office. Daniel was still there. "I need to show this." She handed over the drawing. Daniel looked at it. He stopped breathing. "That's her room. Nobody goes in there. I locked everything. Not even the maid cleans. So how did my son see it?" Daniel stood up. "There's only one person who can answer." "Who?" "The nurse who took care of Clara in her last days. She was with her until the end. I know she kept a diary. Clara dictated things that didn't make sense at the time." "Like what?" "She spoke of a child. She said, 'My sister will have a son, and he will find me.'" Lucia felt a chill. "I didn't know I was her sister. Not even when I got pregnant." "Clara knew," Daniel said. "She felt it, as if blood called to blood." They went to the nurse's house. Zelia, 80 years old. She lived alone in an old neighborhood. He opened the door carefully. He looked at Lucia. He stopped. "My God, you're just like her. Have you met my sister?" "I knew him, and I heard you talking." "Us? But I've never been there." "Not with the body, but with the spirit." In that room, Clara said, "My sister is close. She will suffer a lot, but she will have a son who will cure everything." Lucia sat down. "My son, he's special," Zelia said. "The night Clara died, she squeezed my hand and said, 'My soul won't leave. It will wait, because I'm going to be an aunt, and I'm going to protect him.'" Silence. Daniel asked, "Do you believe that?" "I believe what I saw." That night, the room grew cold. The light flickered, and in the crib we had placed there, by chance, the mobile began to spin. "By itself," Lucia cried. "Enzo is afraid of the dark, but he says that when he's scared, someone sings to him. A song I never taught him." Zelia closed her eyes. She began to sing, "Sleep, my angel, don't be afraid. Aunt Clara will give you love." Lucia's eyes widened. "It's that song. It's exactly that." Zelia opened an old box. She took out a CD. "I recorded everything." Her last words, the songs she sang, for the niece who was never born. Daniel picked up the CD. "I need to listen to it." On the way back in the car, Lucia looked out the window. São Paulo passed by like a dream. She felt something new. It wasn't fear. It was peace. They arrived at the office. Daniel put the CD on. Clara's voice, weak but clear. "If one day a child asks for me, tell them that I sing to them, that I hold their hand, that I am the aunt they never saw, but always loved." Lucia placed her hand on her chest. "Enzo, you're not crazy. You're the miracle she promised." That night, Lucia lay next to Enzo. He woke up. He smiled. "Mom, Aunt came. She said you are her sister. And now, she can rest." Lucia hugged him tightly. "Tell her that I thank her for taking care of you, for bringing us together, for never leaving." Enzo closed his eyes. He whispered, "She said, an aunt's love doesn't die. It just changes form." In the months that followed, the Clara Center began to operate. Lucia not only accepted the position, she turned the project into a living thing. She hired single mothers. She created flexible shifts. She set up a nursery on the 19th floor with natural light, toys, and soft music. And for the first time, women who cleaned buildings could see their children playing just feet away. Daniel followed everything, closely, without imposition, with respect. But little by little something changed. It wasn't quick. It wasn't dramatic. It was silent. Like the dawn, a coffee left on her desk. A good morning with eyes that said more. A night when it was raining heavily and he waited for her to take her home. They talked for 3 hours about Clara, about loneliness, about the weight of being strong when the world doesn't see. "I lost her," Daniel said. "But what hurt the most was losing hope. Of loving again. Of starting over." "I never had hope," Lucia replied. "Just obligation. To make the day go by." to keep Enzo happy. But now, I feel like something is being born. I don't know what it is. I know, he said quietly. It's the beginning of something that should have happened a long time ago. They looked at each other. Without fear. With truth, little by little the visits became frequent. Daniel would go to the apartment. He would play with Enzo. The boy called him Grandpa of the Heart. Because you take care of my mommy like Grandpa takes care of Grandma in heaven. Lucia smiled. She felt peace. And for the first time, security. Until one autumn night, Daniel appeared with a box in his hand. I brought something for you. It was a photo album, old, with pictures of Clara as a child, of her childhood home, of her mother. And in one of them, Lucia stopped. That woman is just like me. It's your biological mother, Daniel said. Clara told me before she died that she wanted to find her sister. She kept this album like a dream. Now, it's yours. Lucia hugged the album. She cried, not out of sadness, out of belonging. That night, Daniel didn't leave. He stayed, they talked until dawn, and without words, without haste, their hearts met. The romance grew slowly, unhurriedly, with respect for Clara's memory, with care for what had already been built. And 6 months later, Lucia felt the first nausea. He went to the doctor. He came back with a piece of paper in his hand. He looked at Enzo, who was playing on the floor. Mom, are you sad? No, my love, I'm happy. Very happy. Why? She smiled. Because you're going to have a little brother. And Daddy Daniel is going to be his father. Enzo stopped. He looked at the ceiling. He smiled. Aunt Clara is dancing. That afternoon, Lucia went to the office. Daniel was at the window looking out at the city. She walked in. He turned around. There's something you need to see. She handed him the exam. He read it. He looked up. His eyes were shining. Is it real? Yes, you're going to be a father again. He hugged her, tightly, as if he held not only her, but the entire future that had been stolen by time. Clara would love this, he whispered. 2 children, 2 generations, a love that conquered even death. That night, they had a simple dinner. In the apartment, Enzo drew. He showed the paper. It was a family. 4 people, Lucia, Daniel, him, and a baby in the arms of a woman in a white dress. This is Aunt Clara, Enzo said. She's holding the baby until he's born. She said, now the family is complete. Lucia hugged Daniel. Thank you for finding me, for believing in me, for making me feel like I belong. You always belonged, he said. It just took us a while to realize it. And that night, for the first time, Lucia slept without fear, with her hand on her belly, and her heart light. Did you know? Some loves don't begin with passion. They begin with pain, with loss, with a broken vase, with a humiliated cleaning lady, with a man who chose to see beyond appearances. And in the end, that's what cured everything. 3 weeks after the pregnancy announcement, Enzo woke up agitated. Mom, I saw Grandpa. Lucia smiled. Grandpa Daniel, he's coming to lunch today. No, the other Grandpa, the one by blood, the one who lives far away. She stopped. What Grandpa, my love? Aunt Clara's, the one with the light eyes. He's sad, and he wants to talk to you. Lucia felt a chill. In recent months, she had grown accustomed to Enzo's visions. But this was different. It was urgent. Draw it for me. Enzo went to the notebook. He picked up the brown chalk and began to draw. White hair, sparse beard, thick eyebrows, and most importantly, light blue eyes, like glass. Lucia looked. She didn't recognize that face, but something about it bothered her. It was as if her blood recognized what her mind couldn't remember. That afternoon, she took the drawing to the office. Daniel was in a meeting. She waited. When he left, he handed over the paper. Enzo drew this today. He said it's his blood grandfather. He wants to talk to me. Daniel looked. He stopped breathing. My God. Do you know? I know him. He's Antonio Varela, my father-in-law, Clara's father. He was presumed dead 30 years ago. Lucia felt the ground disappear. Was he your father? She was, but I didn't know you were sisters. I never knew you existed. The family hid everything. When they discovered Clara had a twin, they collapsed. They said it was a curse, that 2 identical daughters would bring misfortune. And what happened to him? He disappeared. One day he left for work. He never came back. They found his car near a river, but his body was never found. Officially, he drowned. What if he didn't die? Daniel looked at the drawing. Only one person could draw that face so accurately. Antonio wore black-rimmed glasses. He had a scar on his chin and a way of frowning, just like the one in the drawing. Enzo has never seen a picture of him. Then there are only two explanations, Daniel said. Either it's a coincidence, or he's alive, and he wants to be found. That night, Daniel rummaged through old documents, boxes in the basement of the building, until he found something, a yellowed envelope, in Antonio's handwriting, inside a letter. If you're reading this, it's because I couldn't go back. I discovered the truth about the girl, my twin daughter. The family gave her up for adoption. I tried to stop them, but they threatened me. They said that if I told anyone, they would kill them both. So I ran away, I hid, but I never stopped looking. I know she exists, and I know that one day through her I will find Clara and my grandson. My blood didn't die, it just waited. And if you're reading this, it's because the time has come, Lucia cried. He knew about me and tried to save me. Daniel took a deep breath. The letter has an address. In the interior of Minas Gerais, a farm registered in a false name, but with a mark, an oak tree with a heart engraved on it. Let's go? Now, before he disappears again. The next morning they set off. Lucia, Daniel, Enzo. A 6-hour journey. Dirt roads, mountains, silence. When they arrived, the site was abandoned. Wooden house, fallen roof, garden overgrown with weeds. But in the background, an oak tree, huge. And in the bark, a heart. With the initials A and C, Antonio and Clara, whispered Daniel. Lucia touched the tree. Father, if you're there, we've come. Suddenly, a noise. The door to the house opened. A man appeared. Old, thin, white beard. Blue eyes, Enzo ran. It's him. It's the blood grandfather. The man stopped. He looked at Lucia. He was trembling. My God, you're just like her. Just like my girl, Lucia cried. Father, he fell to his knees. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. But I never stopped looking for you. Not for a day, Daniel approached. She's here. And she has a grandson. Who saw you in a dream? Who drew your face? Because blood calls to blood. Antonio hugged Lucia tightly, as if he were recovering 30 lost years. I have something for you, he said weakly. He went into the house and came back with a wooden box. Inside, photos, letters, a baby's crib, and a document, Lucia Mendez's birth certificate with her mother's name, Clara Varela, deceased, and her father's name, Antonio Varela. You are my daughter, he said, and I am the grandfather of this boy, and of the baby who is going to be born. And if you will have me, I want to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that love. Lucia hugged him. You already are, just by being here. That night they camped on the farm. They made a fire. They told stories. Enzo slept on his grandfather's lap, and for the first time, Lucia felt the family was complete, not by chance, by destiny, by love that never died. It just waited for the right moment to return. The day after the reunion, the morning dawned with a weak sun, as if the sky was also cautious about what was to come. Antonio was sitting in a rocking chair, holding an aged envelope with the delicate handwriting of his late wife. Clara, before she died, he began, his voice breaking. Clara asked me to keep this very carefully. She said it should only be opened when Lucia was ready to know the truth. Lucia took the envelope in her hands, felt the weight of that old paperwork, and a mixture of anxiety and hope. What does the letter say? Daniel asked attentively. Antonio wiped his eyes and slowly opened the envelope. He took out a sheet of paper with a handwritten message. My love, if you're reading this, it's because destiny finally brought our paths together. I know hiding the fact that I had a twin sister was cruel, but I didn't want you to carry this pain alone. There's more I need to tell you. A will was hidden to protect our family. It's kept in a safe at Vortex Global headquarters under the name Clara Varela. The fortune belongs to you, to the sister I never knew, and to the children to come. Use it wisely, and know that wherever I am, I'm with you every step of the way. Lucia brought her hands to her mouth, tears flowing silently. An inheritance? For me? His voice trailed off. Yes, replied Antonio. A legacy that Clara saved for us to repair what life tried to destroy. But how are we going to get the will? Daniel asked, already thinking about the next step. I know exactly where the safe is, Antonio said. Clara showed me during a surprise visit 2 years ago. She trusted that one day I would return to claim what is rightfully ours. Everyone exchanged glances, aware that this was the chance to transform their lives. Lucia swallowed her emotions and took a deep breath. So, let's get it. For Clara, for Enzo, for the baby that's coming, Daniel smiled, holding her hand. Together, we will rescue everything that was denied to you. It was the beginning of a new journey. The morning after meeting with Antonio, Lucia, Daniel, and Enzo were gathered in the office to plan the next step. The will is at Vortex headquarters, Daniel stated. It's not just a matter of finding the safe. Access is controlled by a council that doesn't allow me to open everything myself. Lucia frowned. But how can we be sure that the safe really contains what we are looking for? Clara's letter is clear, he replied. The will is there, protected by ancient family secrets. I need your help to prove you are who you say you are and to unlock access. Enzo, curious, watched every word with attentive eyes. I can help, Lucia said decisively. Today, the company is more than a building. It's a tangle of people, secrets, and interests. We need to be careful. Days later, she was introduced to some key people at Vortex, including board members who, while respectful of Daniel, were unsure about Lucia's arrival. The resistance was subtle, but present. Roberta, who had now silently returned to prowling the corridors, sent indirect messages and veiled threats. One of them reached Daniel. You don't know what you're doing. Stop before it's too late, Daniel showed the message to Lucia. They want to stop us, but they can't. We need to prove that we are legitimate, said Lucia. Otherwise, all this fighting may be in vain. Using internal resources and documents found with Antonio, Daniel was able to formalize a request for access to the safe. But to open the compartment, the company required the presence of at least 3 board members to authorize it. Lucia and Daniel then began to look for allies within Vortex, loyal employees who believed in the justice of the cause. In a tense meeting, they managed to get 2 family members and an executive to sign their signatures. The safe has finally been opened. Inside, besides the will, were documents revealing that the Vortex fortune belonged not only to Clara but to Lucia as well, a legitimate heir who had been forgotten. Suddenly, a document caught my attention. It was a letter written by Clara while she was still alive, addressed to Roberta. In it, Clara begged Roberta to deal with a painful truth that could destroy the family. I now leave the testimony manifest so that it may be revealed only at a safe time. Lucia felt a lump in her throat. Why? She whispered. That's the mystery Roberta wants to keep hidden, said Daniel. Meanwhile, Roberta watched everything through the security cameras, and, silently, he looked for a way to get ahead of himself. At the end of the day, Lucia received a message on her cell phone. Some truths are expensive. Prepare yourself. She knew the battle was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, she felt she wasn't alone. The nights began to get quieter, but not for Lucia. The weight of Roberta's message, some truths are costly, hung like a shadow over his thoughts. She studied every detail of the letter left by Clara, trying to understand the former manager's connection to that hidden secret. Daniel, by his side, also did not rest. We can't underestimate her, he said. Roberta knows more about our past than we ever imagined. With the help of allies within Vortex, they obtained surprising information. Roberta had been a nurse at the hospital where Clara was, admitted for the last time before she died. He kept a notebook, a diary that Clara had written in during her fight against cancer. In it, pages filled with stories, fears and requests. But in one of those pages, Clara revealed a dark secret. Roberta knows too much. She buried the truth about our father. She promised silence, but she may not keep it. Lucia felt every word like a knife. They then spoke to an old colleague of Roberta's, now retired. He said that Roberta had lost a son years before, under mysterious circumstances, and that his connection to the Varela family had hidden motivations, perhaps associated with a desperate attempt to find meaning and power. In a tense encounter in a discreet restaurant, Lucia faced Roberta for the first time in a long time. Why do you insist on threatening us? She asked firmly. Roberta looked into Lucia's eyes. Because what you want to discover could destroy everything. And I will never let the Varelas fall, even if it means using everything I have left. At that moment, a group of security guards appeared. Lucia and Daniel were escorted out. But the question remained, what was Roberta so desperate to hide? Back at the office, Daniel and Lucia found a new clue, a digital file on an old Vortex computer. It was a series of legal recordings, family negotiations about the company's and the family's past. In one of them, Clara spoke directly to a camera with a weak but determined voice. There is a parallel will, a document that reveals the truth about our father. He was forced to flee, but he left a legacy. This legacy is for Lucia, for my children, and for the truth. Lucia felt her heart race. We have to find that document, she said. Daniel agreed. Roberta will try to stop it, but we can't back down. That night, as they planned their next steps, Enzo brought in a new drawing. "Look," he said, "it's a golden key with space coals. Aunt said it's the key to open everything." Lucia held the drawing, moved. "Maybe that's what we're looking for." And so, the fight wasn't just for money or power, it was for justice, for family, for the truth that Clara left behind. In silence, the war for the Varela began. The image of Enzo's drawing wouldn't leave Lucia's head. The golden key, the space coals. Aunt Clara saying, "It's the key to open everything." She showed the drawing to Daniel. Space coals? Does he mean stellar codes or something simpler? Daniel looked carefully. Spatial, space, like a place, a void. It was then that Lucia remembered. Clara's office in her house. There's a bookshelf with old books. One of them has a golden symbol on the cover. And at the back, an empty compartment. "Let's go now." That same night, they entered the house where Clara lived. Everything remained as before. The silence, the smell of old wood, the closed curtains. They went straight to the library. Lucia picked up the book. Astros y Destinos, an old novel that Clara loved. On the cover, a golden symbol, a stylized key. She opened it. In the center pages, a thin cut, a hidden compartment, inside a golden metal key. And a note, "For whoever seeks me one day. The truth is where the heart begins." "Clara," Daniel held the key. "This is real." She knew one day someone would come. "But where does it open?" asked Lucia. "Maybe at Vortex headquarters. But not just anywhere. Somewhere only she and I know." Daniel took Lucia to the basement of the building. A forgotten floor, closed for years. The company's former research laboratory. In the center, a steel door. With an old lock, he fitted the key. It turned. The door opened. Inside, a small room. Lit by dim lights, walls covered with photos, documents, videos, and in the center, a table with a digital safe. "This was Clara's refuge," Daniel said. "She came here when she needed to think. When she wanted to protect something." Lucia approached the safe. On the screen, a message flashed. "Enter code, name of sister I've never seen." She took a deep breath. "Lucia." The safe beeped. It opened inside a flash drive. And a final letter. Lucia took the letter and opened it with trembling hands. "My sister, if you are reading this, it is because time has finally brought us together. I knew about you from the beginning. I saw your name on the maternity record. But the family forbade me from looking. So I kept everything. The real will, the fortune, and the proof that our father was betrayed. Roberta was involved. She knew he was alive. And she helped him hide it. Out of fear, out of guilt, out of love for a secret that was not yours. Use this truth wisely. And know this, you are my sister. And everything that is mine is yours," Lucia cried. Not out of sadness, out of justice. Daniel took the flash drive and connected it to an old computer. Videos, documents, evidence, everything proving that Antonio didn't die, that he was forced to flee, and that Roberta, as an accomplice, helped cover it up. "That's enough," Daniel said. "Now the truth will be revealed." But as they left the room, a shadow appeared in the hallway. "Roberta, you're not getting out of here with this," she said firmly. "If you reveal everything, it's not just me who will fall. The company will fall. And the Varela name will be tarnished." Lucia took a step forward. "The Varela name has already been tarnished by silence. Now it's time for the truth." Roberta looked at her, and for the first time her eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted to protect, but I ended up destroying it." Silence. Lucia held out her hand. "There is still time to redeem yourself." Roberta hesitated, and slowly he lowered his head. "Everything I know. I'll tell you." That night, the truth began to be written. Not with hate, not with revenge, but with courage. And with the love of a sister who, even on the other side, never stopped protecting her family. 3 weeks later, Vortex Global called an extraordinary meeting. Executives, advisors, staff, and the press gathered in the main auditorium. All live, all recorded, all real. On stage, Lucia walked calmly. She wore a simple suit, but with the posture of someone who had finally found her place. At her side, Daniel, and holding hands with her, Enzo. The silence was total. "My name is Lucia Mendez," she began, her voice firm. 30 years ago, I was separated from my twin sister at birth. No one told me who I was. No one gave me a choice. I grew up in orphanages. I worked as a day laborer. I was humiliated. But I never lost my dignity. The audience listened in silence. My sister Clara Varela knew about me, but she couldn't find me. Now I'm here, not to take, but to restore, to honor what she left. She handed the microphone a flash drive. This contains evidence, documents, videos, and a true will. Clara did not die in silence. She fought and left everything to me because I am Lucia Varela. Legitimate heir, sister, daughter, mother, Daniel took the floor. Vortex will no longer be a company of secrets. It will be a symbol of justice, of inclusion, and of love. And starting today, Lucia takes over as president of the company's social council and co-owner of the family heritage. The audience burst into applause. But at the back of the room, a figure stood up, Roberta. Everyone fell silent. She walked to the stage, slowly, with tears in her eyes. "I didn't come to defend myself," he said. "I came to turn myself in." Everything Lucia said is true. I knew Antonio was alive. I helped him hide it, out of fear, out of guilt. Because years ago, my son died from medical negligence, and Antonio was the only one who could prove the truth. But instead of fighting, I turned on him and hid what I knew. Out of revenge, out of pain, absolute silence, Enzo let go of Lucia's hand. He climbed onto the bench. He looked at Roberta. "Are you sad?" he asked. She lowered her eyes. "Yes, my son. I'm very scared. Aunt Clara said that forgiveness is like light, that when we let it in, the darkness disappears. Do you want me to give you a hug?" Roberta fell to her knees. She hugged Enzo tightly. She cried like she had never cried before. "Forgive me. Forgive me." Lucia approached. She placed her hand on her shoulder. "Forgiveness doesn't erase the mistake, but it paves the way for a new beginning. You can leave here, or you can stay and help build something new. The choice is yours." Roberta lifted her face. "I want to help. If you let me." Daniel nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance, but with responsibility. Roberta, you will be responsible for the company's new ethics and memory department, so that secrets never again destroy lives." Applause returned. Louder. That night, Lucia returned to the farm with Daniel, Enzo, and Antonio. They sat under the oak tree. The wind was light. The stars were shining. Enzo lay on Lucia's lap. "Mom, Aunt Clara is happy. She said the circle has closed, and that the baby will be a girl." Lucia smiled, placing her hand on her belly. "Did you hear that?" "I heard," Daniel said, "and I think she already has a name. Clara, in honor of the aunt who never stopped protecting us." Antonio looked at the sky. "My girl, you did it. You put it all together, and in that moment, there was no more pain. There was no more fear. There was only love. The kind of love that survives death, that spans generations, and that, even in silence, never stops speaking." Lucia's story didn't end there. But for the first time, she knew she was no longer alone, and she never had been.